was born January 6, 1973, in Richmond, Indiana. She was the youngest of 10 siblings and was known for being a very sweet and loving, ambitious person. She was stunningly beautiful and excelled in anything she put her mind to. At the age of 19, she gave birth to her daughter Peyton with a man named Steve Johnson, of whom at one point she was in a relationship with. At the age of 28, she became a prison guard at a correctional center in Dayton, Ohio, to support her daughter as she was raising her. But she had a love for criminal justice and eventually began pursuing a career in the FBI. Niqui was on top of the world when she became engaged to Bobby Webster. Niqui and Bobby dated once before when they were in high school. They eventually broke up and disconnected when Bobby moved to California, but reconnected when Bobby returned years later. Niqui believed she had finally gotten the man of her dreams as she blissfully prepared for her wedding. On Sunday, July 22, 2001, both Niqui and Bobby were up early running errands. Niqui decided to take both of their clothes to the laundromat while Bobby went with his cousin to be fitted for his tuxedo, and made plans to meet up later that day for more preparations for the wedding. Niqui dropped off her daughter with her parents and proceeded to the laundromat. After she returned back to her parents' home, while her clothes were still drying, her mother stated that she appeared very uneasy when she returned, stating that there were men at the laundromat that refused to leave her alone. Her mother saw how much it bothered her, so she suggested that she go back to the laundromat, retrieve the clothes, and bring them back to her mother's house to dry them there. But Niqui declined the offer and left her parents' home to return to the laundromat. This would be the last time anyone would see Niqui. Later that afternoon, around 4:30 p.m., her boyfriend Bobby returned home and noticed that Niqui had not yet returned, but didn't panic, assuming that she was still doing laundry. Her family had also thought it was strange that Niqui had not yet returned to pick up her daughter, but assumed that she decided to go to work at the last minute, or could have possibly been out shopping after her clothes were finished. But as the day became later, at approximately 6 p.m., Bobby began calling around to anyone that may have seen Niqui. Her mother began having the same concern after Niqui never came back for her daughter. Some of her family members went to check the laundromat, being that it was right down the street from where she lived. But there were no signs of Niqui, her car, or her laundry. They started heavily searching the area, taking the normal routes that Niqui would take, hoping to find her truck somewhere, but they came up with nothing. They finally decided around 11 p.m. to contact the police and report Niqui as a missing person, but was told by the police department that it was still too early for her to be considered a missing person, being that a person has to be missing for at least 24 to 48 hours before they can conduct an investigation. Due to the fact that Niqui was getting married, the police stated that more likely this was the reason why she went missing, and that it was a possibility that she had gotten cold feet. But Niqui's family knew better, and knew that she would not just up and leave without her daughter, and also get cold feet when she was as excited as she was. The police finally became involved after Niqui missed going to work, which was something very unusual, being how much she loved her job. During the investigation, a lot of focus was put on the laundromat that Niqui was supposed to have been. Sadly, there were no witnesses that remembered seeing Niqui, but they were able to obtain surveillance footage of Niqui visiting a deli next door, where she appeared to be rather normal and showed no signs of being in distress. Eventually, Niqui's family became involved with the search, passing out flyers and also doing searches of their own. The police had already begun searching with police dogs and helicopters, but despite their efforts, they continuously reached dead ends. While the investigators struggled to get leads on Niqui's whereabouts, they started noticing very strange action from her soon-to-be husband, Bobby. They discovered that Bobby had gone back to the jeweler where Niqui had bought their engagement rings to return them and obtain the money back from them, and also had contacted the school that Niqui had attended, attempting to retrieve the unused tuition money that Niqui had, and became very angry when told that her tuition was being paid by her employer and that she did not have any tuition money to collect. What made investigators more suspicious was the fact that these events happened the day after Niqui had gone missing. And it was said that not long after, he called the wedding off. Bobby denied ever canceling the wedding, but admitted that he had taken the rings back to the jeweler to get the deposit back so that the money would assist in finding Niqui. Bobby became a person of interest, but was never charged due to lack of evidence. As time went on, the case became cold. Niqui's family became frantic and more desperate to find her. On November 3rd, 2001, 3 months after Niqui went missing, her vehicle was discovered in an apartment complex in Dayton, Ohio. When searching the vehicle for any clues of Niqui's whereabouts, they found her basket full of folded laundry in the back seat of the car. But unfortunately, this was all they discovered. After searching the car, they found no fingerprints other than Niqui's in the car or any signs of foul play. But while investigating the location in Dayton, it was discovered that the complex where the vehicle was found was not far from the home of a former co-worker of hers, Tommy Swinton. Niqui had a complicated relationship with him. It was said that during their friendship, there was an incident that happened where he allegedly attempted to sexually assault her after Niqui didn't reciprocate feelings for him as he had for her, and that he had also had a history of violence in his past. Tommy Swinton became a person of interest, but has never been questioned due to the lack of cooperation with the police. Years started going by as the case went cold, but the family did everything they could, including going on a radio show and speaking with psychic Sylvia Brown, and also working with a missing persons organization, trying to keep Niqui's name in the media, rewarding $100,000 for anyone who had any information on Niqui's whereabouts. But there was nothing that brought them closer to finding out what happened to Niqui. 4 years went by, and Niqui's missing persons case went cold once again, until one day when the police discovered that Tommy Swinton, who was still considered a person of interest in Niqui's case, had become a police officer for the Trotwood, Dayton, Ohio Police Department. The investigation team and the family were shocked, and one of the members of the investigative team immediately contacted the Trotwood Police Department to inform them of Swinton's possible connection to Niqui's case. Swinton lost his job and soon after sued the police department, claiming that he had no knowledge of being a person of interest. But the news about Swinton hit the media heavily, and soon after, it was discovered that Swinton had become a suspect in the murder of another young woman in Dayton. Not long after Swinton cooperated with the Dayton police, his DNA and fingerprints were deemed a match to the case of the woman in Dayton. But the feeling of victory would not last long. When the police went to Swinton's home to arrest him, he was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The death of Tommy Swinton angered the investigative team and broke the heart of Niqui's family, due to them being so close to finding out the fate of their loving daughter, sister, mother, and fiance. But although still heartbroken, the family stated that they were happy that Niqui's case assisted in another woman's case being solved. The family has never given up hope. They hold a candlelight vigil at the laundromat where Niqui was last known to be, hoping that one day they'll finally have closure. But unfortunately, to this day, the missing persons case of Niqui McCowen is still unsolved.